Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. We are back again with Black Girl Joy, and I'm so excited to have you here. We have a topic that's related to my field of work. So, before we get started, remember like, share, subscribe, follow all of the things in all of the places: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, even Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places. So do all the things in all the places. So I'm excited. I did a little teaser about this. It's been going around. It is called quiet quitting. Quiet quitting. So I don't know if you've heard about quiet quitting, but it is a new kind of phenomenon. I think it probably has been happening, but people are talking about it now. So, quiet quitting and quiet firing. So, the funny thing is quiet quitting is talking about not quitting your job. So, I want to set the stage and then we're going to dig into quiet quitting and quiet firing, and I want you guys to share your experiences so that we can all learn from each other. And I'm going to give my perspective as someone who is in HR. So I want to set the stage. It is now 2022. 2020, we had a massive pandemic. It changed the way we thought about relating to each other, being around in each other's presence, touching each other. Everything changed once the pandemic came. And I remember it was in a matter of weeks. It was like one day I had all the hand sanitizer I could ever imagine, and the next day there was none, and I was driving 3 hours to find hand sanitizer because that's kind of my thing if you know me. So we had this pandemic. During the pandemic, we had massive civil unrest, right? And I think this is my perception is that people started reevaluating life. A lot of lives were lost during the pandemic, during the social justice. You just start rethinking your values and what really matters. So that brings us to today. So I'm going to share some stats with you that I find interesting and I think sets the tone for our conversation on quiet quitting and quiet firing. All right, here we go. So in 2022, you have almost one fourth of workers saying they plan on quitting their jobs in 2022. 23% are planning to quit their jobs, while 9% had already found a new job. And this is just from one source, right? Resume Builder. I saw somewhere that was up to 40% of people want to quit their jobs. So that's fact number one. Just looking at that, setting the tone, 23%. So there's somebody in your office right next to you who wants to quit today. All right. So then we break it down even further. Remote, in-person, hybrid. We've seen all of these comments, and I mean, you guys may know my perspective about working from home. I am a big proponent of working from home if that makes you happy, right? So people are assuming, I think corporations are assuming like we'll get better work out of our employees if we bring them back into the office. When you look at these numbers, that just doesn't it doesn't shift out. 24% of remote workers want to change jobs, right? 23%, which is statistically the same, of people who are working in person want to change jobs, and people who are hybrid, which is what most people are going to, 20% of them want to change their job. So I think this narrative that's going on the internet right now about people need to get back into the office, I don't see where it's changing people wanting to stay at your job or not. It seems like there's some people who are remote who want to stay remote, that when you go back to the office, they are changing where they're changing their jobs and they're looking. But if you look across, people just want to change. And then when we break it down, you see most people, 50% of the people who are searching for a new job are seeking better pay and benefits. That's going to tie directly into our quiet quitting. Find a job I'm more passionate about. Ties right back into our topic of quiet quitting. Poor working conditions at the current job is looks like around 37% of people. That's why they're looking for a job. Ties right back into quiet quitting. Want to continue to work remotely is about, looks like right at 29%. So there are so many reasons that people are trying to find something new and different. It just is what it is. Our labor market is totally flipped on its head right now. We have a lot of people who are unionizing. Right now, we see, I don't know if you have seen, the nurses are on strike. We have the railroad workers who also are about to strike or would like to strike, who are fighting for better benefits. So the unrest in the office, I feel like, is at an all-time high for my lifetime. I know there were huge labor movements in the past, and I feel like we're working back up to that. So I was just curious. Let me look into this a little bit more. Engage versus actively engaged versus actively disengaged. When you look at that, you have 18% of the workforce being actively disengaged, and then you have 32% who are actively engaged. What do you think that means for everyone in the middle? Who is in the middle, right? So there's gradations. Actively disengaged means I'm probably at this point about to quit. I don't care about the job. I'm on the extreme end of I don't want to be here. 32% are like, yes, I love it. You know, those lifers, they love their job. They bought in, they're wearing the colors all the time, they're preaching the values. That's 32%. Well, that leaves a pretty big gap in between. And so there is going to be a gradation between that highly engaged and that actively disengaged. That's going to fill the gap. So what they're finding is that some of those people in that gap, especially when you look at people of 35 and younger, so younger millennials and down, those are the people they're speaking about when they talk about quiet quitting. So they're not quitting their job, which I don't understand why it's called quiet quitting because that doesn't make sense to me. But they're not quitting their job. They're not aggressively upset at their job. They're not highly engaged. But what are they doing? So just one more statistic to set the stage before we dive in. I want you to look at this orange or red, with orange, red, orange line. Look how many people have been quitting their jobs. Now, it's strange that it's so high in April because that's right at COVID. So I don't know if it's just strange that that's not the kind of laid off, it wasn't. It was people quit higher than layoffs, which is just, I wouldn't have thought that. But look how many people quit and look at how high, even though we've gone lower, we're still at in July over 5.5 million people. So 5.67 million people quit their jobs in July. There is some unrest there. So everyone's not quitting. Everyone's not quitting. Like we saw in the thing, the actively disengaged, but some people are quiet quitting. All right. So what is quiet quitting? This is how I define it. I'm sure employers wouldn't define it this way, but I define it as setting boundaries. Quiet quitting is setting boundaries. It's when someone says, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do exactly what was asked of me on my job description, exactly for the amount of time I dedicated to this, right? So 9 to 5, whatever those hours are, and I'm not going to do anything else. Do you think that's wrong? Put it in the comments. What do you think about quiet quitting? I see it as setting boundaries. So when I think about when I entered the workplace to where I am now, how much stuff has changed. There's so much technology, but there's also still a lot of, how do I put this? I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but falsely creating efficiencies, right? Because the technology creates efficiencies, but I've noticed in my work experience where people are laid off and then people are given extra responsibilities like, oh, you're a team player. Let me give you this other person's whole job and not give you the pay. I've seen that. I've seen where roles are combined. You can handle all of this stuff. I've seen where now in the past when I started working when cell phones kind of first came out. So it kind of makes me old to some people and young to others. But I remember I never got a call about work on my cell phone. Now you could call me no matter where I am. Am I on vacation? Am I out to dinner with my family? You're emailing me, work's emailing. So work has really invaded, and I'm going to use the word invaded, our personal lives and our personal space. And it's harder to separate it. So it feels like it's almost an expectation at times. Do you guys feel that? That's almost like an expectation that you're available, you're on, you'll take on all of this extra work, you'll stay up and get it done, you'll do whatever's needed. But when that person is laid off and you're still there doing the work, or when they combine those roles because maybe the person left and they're like, we're not going to backfill that role, you don't get double the pay for doing the work, right? So a lot of things have happened in our society when it comes to work. Let's not even talk about pensions and the benefits that have like gone away. Let's not even talk about that. But a lot of things have changed in the atmosphere of work that some people just are like, okay, I'm setting a boundary. I work, I work to live, but I don't live to work. And so that's what quiet quitting is. Thank you, Miss Grace. I think I'm in the middle. I used to love my job, but after some personal changes, not so much. Yeah, really considering going somewhere else now. Exactly. So a lot of people are in that same headspace, and people really want, and I don't know if it's everybody, right? But I think there is of an awakening of passion or just the awareness that if something would have happened in COVID, sheesh, I would have been doing something I didn't like or working for people I didn't like, or I'm spending my time all focused on work or always upset about work and bringing it home. I think there was an awakening to say, you know what, this is not what I want life to look like. And so let me tell you, I know I'm not that old, but this younger generation, they got it. They say, okay, I'm going to set boundaries. And I do feel like boundaries need to be set with work because it's almost too much. If you can't go away for the weekend with your family without like having to be on, it's too much. We have another comment. I agree. It's setting boundaries. So many people suffer from burnout was at an all-time high. Oh my gosh. I saw so many LinkedIn posts. I'm going to finish the rest of it. But I saw so many LinkedIn posts and topics about resilience. They're like, be resilient, be resilient. Well, listen to that. We're asking people to be resilient versus really examining why people are burnt out. So it's not that we're going to solve the root issue, because there was some resilience issues with, just COVID was a lot, right? So dealing with COVID, and yes, it was a whole new way of working, and our IT departments had to work like crazy to make sure we could do it. But instead of really examining why people are burnt out and what are we going to do to help people cope better and create a better environment, because maybe there's something we can do internally, I saw the solution of resilience, resilience, resilience. You can't always bounce back. You can't always bounce back, but do you get what I'm saying? Like everything isn't about bouncing back. Sometimes it's about reevaluating and restructuring and realigning so that you just have a better environment and that is healthy. So let me go back to the comment. So many people suffer from burnout by going above and beyond what their job requires. Setting boundaries allows you to shift from work to your personal life without blurring lines. I love that. So one of the things I've been practicing personally is Okay, when I'm off work, I'm turning off my computer. I do not check email. I shut it all the way down. I don't put it to sleep. I shut it all the way down. And I honestly think quiet quitting is part of this great reset. If you remember just a little bit ago, they were talking about the great resignation. That was all the people leaving and exiting. They were like, I'm out. Peace. I'm done. But you still have this group of people that's like, yeah, I like my job. I'm okay with it. I'm working from home. Good. I got some flexibility. But okay, I can't do all this stuff you asking me to do. I got other stuff to do. I got a life to live, you know? And so that is quiet quitting. So when I think of quiet quitting, this is where I get in trouble. When I think of quiet quitting, I think of, okay, what is the organization doing to contribute to the quiet quitting? And what is the manager doing to contribute to quiet quitting? And so if your organization, are you investing in your employees? Are you investing in their development? Are you treating them like people versus products and resources just for you to use? Right? So, how is the organization treating its people? How do they feel valued? And I use this as an example, and it is no shade, but it's a little bit of shade. When organizations resort to those bagels or that pizza, yeah, it's cool, but is that your engagement strategy? Like, oh, I bought donuts this morning. Okay, great. They ain't even Krispy Kreme. What am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with those donuts? They're not even Einstein bagels. What am I supposed to do with that? So really looking at how you are showing your people appreciation and how are you showing them respect? How are you showing them respect? And then I go to the manager level to say, how are you treating your employees? Do you have the right people in the right places? And one thing that I kind of mentioned above is, are you asking too much from people? And there is a ask that's too much. And I am one person who goes above and beyond. I like my stuff to be perfect. I'm one of those people who's very anal about my work, right? I want my work to be good. But at the same time, you can't expect that from everybody. And honestly, I set boundaries because I have a kid. And even if I didn't have a kid, I have a life, right? So you have to have boundaries. So from a manager and an organization perspective, are you respecting the boundaries of your employees? And are you putting enough resources, human resources, any other type of resources to make sure stuff can get done within work hours? Because we all love those stretch assignments. If the stretch assignment isn't because the person's learning and growing to another role or to expand themselves, it's purely a stretch assignment because you don't want to hire someone to do it, then that's a clue, right? We're all like, oh, take the opportunities. Yeah, if it helps you get to where you want to go. But sometimes that stuff is positioned as that, but is it really for that benefit? Is it really benefiting the employee? So look at your practices and what you're doing. Ooh, yeah. Tickets to the fair. Yeah, that's fun. Like, do a giveaway, tickets to the fair. But is that your engagement strategy? Is that where it begins and ends? Because employees will look at you crazy. They'll take them tickets. I'll take the tickets if they don't want them. But at the same time, that's not going to help your employees be more engaged. And sometimes team members do have to stretch and go outside of their role. It shouldn't be every single day. It shouldn't be every single day. All right. So I'm going to transition to the other side of this, which is something I read. And I was like, wait, I feel like y'all just coming up with terms now. I'm like, what is this? So I was looking up quiet quitting and I came across something that said quiet firing. What in the world is quiet firing? And so I read the article. I can't remember what site the article was on, but I read the article. It might have been CNN. And I thought, yeah, this happens. So quiet firing is when the manager basically starts ignoring the employee. So they're not giving them any development. They're not helping them with their issues. They're kind of just letting the employee sit around and be miserable, right? I guess everyone's disgruntled. And so instead of addressing the issue, it's like, well, I guess they can't fire him. I don't know. But let's all sit around and be miserable. So I'm going to try to ignore you and I'm not going to help you with what you need. Because I guess the end goal is that the employee will quit. So I'm going to quiet fire you. I'm not really going to fire you. I'm not going to legitimately fire you. I'm going to just let you sit over there and struggle by yourself. So I know y'all know how I feel about this one. Look, if a manager needs to quietly fire anyone, that manager should probably be fired. But with a caveat, because sometimes businesses put people in managerial positions that maybe shouldn't be in the manager's position. I've seen that before, right? I've seen people who didn't even want a position of leadership get leadership positions and it didn't work out, right? Because it wasn't going to work out. They didn't want it. And my other caveat is when the organization makes it where the person they can't get rid, like they don't have good practices, right, to resolve the issues. So, but if you just have a manager who's just like, yeah, I'm not going to address this, I'm just going to ignore this person, is horrible. It's going to create the worst work culture for everyone. Because do you not think your other employees see you treating that person like that? Do you not think if a new employee comes on, they're not going to be sitting there watching the way you treat this person and saying, oh, I guess I'm next when I'm on their bad side, right? So the employee is sitting there frustrated, not getting help with what they need. They might as well quiet quit while they get their check until they find their next job. They're probably searching for their next job. But the manager is actively ignoring them. So I put it on the manager and the organization. You got to look at stuff. Is the person in the right role? If the person isn't in the right role, try to help. If they're good, right? You hire them because you thought they were going to be really good at something. If they're not in the right role, help them find the right role. They'll love you for that, right? Number two, if the person's just not performing and it's like nothing's working, maybe they weren't honest on their resume. I know that's going around too. Then you probably gotta let that person go. It needs to be a process for it. Just let it go. Everybody be happy. Just let it go. Let's just cut the tension and let it go. But you cannot ignore and not address issues, because that is a breeding ground for mistrust. Like, you're going to lose trust from other people because you're going to seem disingenuous and you're going to seem inauthentic when you're walking around like, oh, I'm a good manager, but you have this employee over here that has no training or anything. I challenge managers that even if the organization puts barriers in the way of developing your people and really giving them what they need, that you find a way to get them what they need. So has anyone been quiet fired or has seen someone get quiet fired? I have. And I will tell you from personal experience that I've actually approached my director. I don't know if it's a director. Scratch that. I've approached leadership and said, hey, you need to address this. This is getting awkward. You need to address it. This person is feeling this way. It's tense. You need to fix it. And I had no problem, as someone who is an individual contributor at the time. One of my pet peeves is like bad leadership or like tension between managers and employees and both sets not feeling heard. It's just one of my things. That's why I went into HR. So I've literally approached leadership and said, hey, you need to address this, and it's your job to fix it. I think it is their job. I think that's what you get paid for. So, quiet quitting, quiet firing. What are your thoughts? Hit me up in the chat or the comment section. I want to see what you are thinking. All right. So while you type in your comments, please type in comments. I want to share with you that I am also a coach. So I coach in career, life mindset, and I help people increase their confidence, their drive to action, their tangible results. And so that is what I do. If you are interested or just curious about it, please email me below. You see that? It says joy at active-potential.com. Don't forget the dash. And I will set up a free consultation for you. Or if you know someone else who needs help, send them my way. I would love to talk to them, even if it's just for a consultation. And my consultations are like coaching sessions. So it's all fun. All right. Oh, we have a comment. Yes, don't be quiet. Just do it. Quit or fire. Yes. You gotta take the leap. Now, as an employee, we all have bills. So if you need to go ahead and find you another job, you may want to do that. The economy is not great. So do what you gotta do. All right. But yeah, don't be quiet. And also feel empowered to address the elephant in the room, right? If you feel like your manager's quietly firing you, go talk about it head on. Unless you have another job, then you just leave. But face it head on. If you feel like, okay, I want to set boundaries, do that. Like I have had real conversations with leadership before in previous positions to say, hey, like this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. And for me, it's like working super late every day, working every weekend. I can't do that. I got too much other stuff to do. I have goals. I have my own dreams and passions. So yeah, have an upfront conversation about what's going on. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was telling them, I think sometimes we forget that just because we are in the room with someone who may have a higher position, right, than we do, like you deserve to be in that room as much as they do. I don't care what their position is. I don't care how many years of experience they have. You deserve to be in that room just as much, and your voice is just as important. So keep that in mind. That way, when you get ready to have this conversation, you come in with some like confidence. Come in with some confidence because you deserve to be there. So, all right. Wait, we got another comment. Ooh, it can be a slow and painful cycle. Yes, I've witnessed a former coworker get quiet fired, and it was so awkward because the rest of the team knew the coworker wanted to leave but couldn't due to financial. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So, how can someone address something like that? The manager has to have guts to say, hey, this is the issue, right? This is the issue I'm having with you and your performance. How can we fix it? Now, I'll tell you a secret. I think I've already said this on here. I had a manager one time, as a director, put in my performance review like, oh, you mess with your glasses too much. That was before I got my eyes fixed. Those types of conversations, that's somebody you don't want to report to. because that has nothing to do with your performance, right? So if you're a manager, don't go in there with silliness, right? But yeah, address it head on. What is the issue? You never know. It may be something personal going on in that person's life that makes them that's causing them to perform at a lower level. I had a friend who actually had cancer, and their manager put on their performance review that they were lethargic. Just look for another job. At that point, you just look for another job. They already knew what was going on, right? But the manager should address real issues. If they are a good, decent manager, address real issues head on. Head on. And then as far as the employee, hey, I noticed things have been different. I really need your support in this area, this area, and this area, and I haven't been able to get it. Can you let me know what's going on? Let's have adult conversations instead of avoiding. All right. So you guys have been amazing. Our 30 minutes is up. Quiet quitting, quiet firing. I put it back on the managers in the organization because, I mean, the quiet quitters are still doing their job, so it can't be their fault. Right. And the person who being quiet fired, like, you got to be able to address it. That's kind of your role as the manager of the organization. So I put it back on them. Hopefully, everyone learns and grows and sets themselves up for success either way. You have been an amazing audience. Remember, like, share, subscribe, follow all the things in all the places. I am here if you need me as a life coach, as a career coach, as a mindset coach. Just reach out. We can schedule a free consultation. Next week, next week, I don't know. I think we have a special guest. I think it's MJ Larkin, and I think we are talking about suicide rates in the Black community. So it's going to be a little bit more solemn. You would be surprised at how high suicide rates are going in our youth, especially in male youth of the Black community. So we're going to be breaking that down in recognition of Suicide Awareness Month. So thank you. You've been so great. I can't wait to see you next week. Bye-bye.